Hello, everyone, and we are back with the Mother Drive podcast. I have literally been out of pocket for a while. Um, all the things, life, etc. But welcome back. This is episode 8, and it is part 6 in the short series called BAM, which is Be an Awesome Mom While Chasing Your Dreams. As always, as I said before, this is the Mother Drive, and I'm Kate Matthews, and I'll be your host. Today, we have joining us Estefania Tijerina. I think I said it right.
Yes, that's right.
Perfect. I'm so excited to have Stephanie on the podcast. As y'all know, I host this from the car because that's where I spend the majority of my time as a mom. So let's get started on giving a little background on Stephanie. Estefania. I messed it up again. Sorry about that. Today, our guest is Estefania Tijerina. Like I said, she is a former nurse, and she is now the founder of and CEO of Revitalized Love. And she's the creator of a program called United. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. This helps moms embrace self-love and enjoy the heck out of motherhood and even rekindle the romance in their relationship. As we all know, things can get a little crazy and wild when we first have kids in our partnerships. It's a new thing and a new adjustment. So Estefania helps people out with that. Okay. Thank you for joining us today, Estefania. Let's get into it. So tell me a little bit about your journey and how it began. I want to know like your aha moment, what led to you starting this, and, feeling called to lead women and feeling just really connected to getting women to, feel empowered and embrace themselves. Tell me all the things.
So, first of all, thank you so much for having me and sharing your space with me to come on and share my story and my mission. So, I had my daughter back in 2019, and I had all these, beautiful things pictured in mind that motherhood was going to be so beautiful for me. It was going to be so easy. And after having her, I quickly developed postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. I'm pretty sure I also had rage. I was just never diagnosed with it. And so that really put me in a really dark place. I didn't know how to get through it. We were also in the very beginning of COVID with the whole global pandemic. So there was not many resources that I can go to. And it was really hard. I ended up having a counselor that I met with 2 times a week that only lasted for about a month. And so that really helped me. But overall, I had to really come to the realization that, sorry about that. I had to really come to the realization that this motherhood journey, yes, it's difficult, but it's something that you really have to put yourself out there and do it in your own way. So when I was in the thick of it with the depression, with the anxiety, and then struggling a lot in my marriage, I was looking for all of these things. I started following groups. I started, following all of these moms on social media, and I was like, how is everybody doing, how is everybody doing this motherhood? They make it seem so easy, and I was over here struggling, and it felt like I was so alone. It felt like I was not cut out to be a mom. It felt like something was wrong with me, like something in me was missing, like I was just not doing enough. And so backtrack to almost 2 years later of struggling with the depression and the anxiety, I decided, you know what? I'm so tired of trying to be this mom to fit society standards and for my family to be proud. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to do motherhood in my own way. And I think that was my biggest aha moment that, you know what? I actually can do this motherhood journey on my own. I actually can do it in my own way and it actually can be fun. So when you kind of take that pressure off of, I don't have to do it that specific way. And just because so and so from down the street does this, it doesn't mean I have to do it. So being able to do all of that really helped me embrace my journey, really come back to who I want to be. And from there, I was like, you know what? I want to help other moms do this. And that's pretty much what led me to here where we are now.
That's amazing. I feel like, and I don't know if every mother feels this, but at some point you look up and go, where's the village? Like,
Exactly.
where's the village? And we need to support each other and also like be non-judgmental of one another's journeys and tune out the noise. I think the biggest thing that actually my husband taught me was everything is noise, but the decisions that you're making with your partner about how you manage your journey together moving forward as like parents, as individuals, as mom, as dad, but also as, Estefania, right? What does that look like for you? Because let's not forget, there was a you before you had a baby. And okay, so now there's a new you. So what is that? What's that going to look like? And I think all of that is like just a very um sort of like a backup of the kitchen sink, right? Like you're trying to like work through all this while you just have this brand new baby that also is like you have to take care of this baby. That's a huge
Right.
responsibility. Right? So, and I think we hear a lot of noise from other people and the best thing to do is like just really hone in on what makes the most for you, the most sense for you and your partner. So like I think you're right, Estefania. Like a lot of people have a big problem figuring that out. So it makes like a perfect sense, like just an amazing like synchronicity that you had this moment where you're like, let me help everyone else. I've got this now. Like I know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that aha moment.
Thank
So
you.
tell me about like some of the challenges that you've had along the way as a dream chaser and as a mom and sort of like juggling that balance. Like what are the biggest hurdles that you've found yourself like coming up against and like how did you manage those?
So honestly, you know that saying that says something like you are the only one stopping you from achieving your dreams and your goals. I really found that to be true in my journey because I kept on having these limiting beliefs and these thoughts that no, I can't do that. I should not be doing this. I should who am I? Who do I think I am to go and be able to help other moms when I barely was able to get through it? When it took me a whole 2 years? What makes me an expert? And so then with all of that also came all of these other dragging thoughts of what is my family going to think? What if I don't want to do nursing anymore and I now want to come back to be a coach for moms? So it was all of these thoughts, all of these beliefs that were really stopping me. And so when I sat back to think about it, I was like, yes, people are going to have their own opinion, but at the end of the day, I have to do what feels right for me and I have to do what makes me feel happy, what makes me feel fulfilled. And having kids, having my husband, having my family support me is not enough. I have to be okay within myself. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me, like really just getting rid of those limiting beliefs and my own thoughts and just really getting out of my own way to decide, you know what? No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna push forward and I'm going to help other women because this is something that I've been through and this is something that I know I can help other moms with. And as far as the depression and the anxiety, I've been asked so many times, did you take medication? How long were you in therapy for? I had my counselor for only a month. I did not take the medication that I was prescribed, and there's no shame in taking medication at all. It was just my own personal choice. But one of the things that they always ask is, well, how did you do it? And I think the biggest thing was me. I had to believe that I am able to get through it. And that was the thing that stopped me for those 2 years. That was the biggest challenge for me that I literally didn't think that it was possible to get out of the depression and anxiety without outside help or without medication.
So you really learned like to rely on yourself and to pull strength out of you and to be able to break through your limiting thought beliefs. So is that's part of the process and the guidance that you work through and help other women help support them through that process.
Yes, that is the biggest thing because something that I always tell myself and something that I always tell my clients also is you can have the most amazing partner ever. You can have the most amazing support system, family, friends, whatever it is, but you need to believe in yourself. You need to be okay with the decisions that you're making. You need to be able to trust yourself enough to be able to move forward. And that is where you actually get to the root of the problem, you get yourself out of that dark place that you're at, and you come back to who you really are, the real mom, the real woman inside of you. And to me, that's such a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's one of the first things that I start working on with my clients. And I'll even add to that I think that's why even in just the first week in my program, they're already having like so many aha moments and they're like, oh my gosh, this is actually possible. And I think that's just so beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I bet you really, really just look back and see yourself in them. I bet to a degree, right? Like that breakthrough moment where you're like, oh, I can do this, right?
Yes,
I I,
yes,
I can. Yeah. So I know that. Okay, so you're this amazing empowerment coach for women. You were previously a nurse. You decided that that was not going to be a part of the journey moving forward. So, but it's interesting because like you were always helping people. So it makes sense that you would continue, down the path of helping people, right? And it's also really cool that you're a nurse because you have this background from a medical standpoint that's like, yeah, like these are kind of like signs and symptoms, and these are like things that can happen to women. And you've probably seen tons of people that have come in after having a baby or what have you, and seen that process through itself. So that's like also a really good thing, like a really sort of like good ace of spades to have up your sleeve as an empowerment coach, because you can kind of connect in a whole other way than other coaches can, right? I think
yes,
that's
I 100% agree with that. And thank you for pointing that out because sometimes I don't do a very good job at giving myself credit for being a nurse also and having that background. It kind of feels like it's just the norm to me. Like I know it's in my head, I know the knowledge, and sometimes I assume that people know about it. But I've had moms in the past say, well, I don't think I can just get through it without, medication the way you did because I have these hormonal imbalances. And yes, that's a very real thing. And it's also very important to pay attention to that aspect. But I also want you to look at it holistically in the way that it really is possible to be able to heal yourself by taking care of yourself within first. So it doesn't
mm-hmm,
necessarily mean that you always have to turn back to medication or you have to turn to doctors and all of these things. It's also that there's a whole holistic approach, and us as humans, our body is meant to be able to heal itself. That's a whole other topic that I can get into,
a
but
hundred
yes.
percent. I can't wait to jam with you on that topic at some point in the future. But yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, so I know that you have a coach as well personally. Tell me, like, talk to me about why having a coach for you was important, and just how much it has helped impact your journey personally and professionally.
So to be completely honest with you, when I was, in the thick of it with my depression and anxiety, and even when I decided that I wanted to help other moms, I didn't know that coaching was a thing. I didn't know that there was coaches out there that can help me with, these specific things. So when I heard about it, I was like, I really want to learn from someone that is already at the place where they're at. Now, coming back to these limiting beliefs, there was always these little thoughts in my head that were like, why are you going to spend thousands of dollars on a coach online that you don't even know if it's true? Maybe it's a scam. And, for them to be able to help you, you should be going to school for that. And so when I finally decided, you know what, I am going to hire a coach, I am going to hire somebody to help me, it was absolutely life changing because it's not only the support that you get, the guidance that you get, but it's also the fact that we don't feel our best every single day. And sometimes we do need that little push. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to talk to someone that understands your journey, someone that understands what you're going through and that they think it's normal, that they believe this is normal. And having that community makes all the difference. So when I think back, had I not, hired a coach to start my business, to help me with my limiting beliefs, with my mindset, with shifting my mindset and everything, I probably wouldn't be at the level that I'm at right now. I think it's very possible to still be able to achieve your goals without a coach. But when you have a coach, when you have the support, the accountability, and the community, it just makes it that much easier. And the best part is that you actually enjoy the journey because you get inspired from this other person that has already been through it, that has been through all of this. You get to share your moments of doubt, your fears, and they get to kind of bring you back to that place of no, you're doing right, you're doing well, you're on the right path. Trust me, I've been there, I've had those thoughts, and look at where I'm at now. And if it's possible for me, it's possible for you.
Yeah.
So I think, just going back, I would do it all over again. And I would probably even make, more investments in the very beginning because it's just something that really helped me get to the level that I'm at now in a much more smoother and beautiful way.
Right. Right. I agree. So when you think about your content day to day as you're like developing it, how would you say like you you differentiate between what you're going to add in terms of like from a mom perspective of content versus like from Estefania's perspective, you as an individual beyond just being a mom, right?
So I always like to think of it like, what was I like? What was I thinking like? How was I moving when I was in the thick of the depression and the anxiety? And so I like to put myself back in that situation, remind myself of how I was, the stuff that I would do, and really put it out there so that you can really relate, so that you can really see that you're not alone in having these feelings and these thoughts. And
Okay.
then there's also that part of but you know what? I was able to get out of it. I was able to pull myself out of it. I was able to see that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I got to that light at the end of the tunnel, and now it's time for you to see that. And so when I also, include about my relationship or about self-love, about embracing your motherhood journey, because these are my three pillars, I always tie it back to yourself. It always comes back to you. And the best way that I'm able to do that is to go back within my own self and see that at the end of the day, we're all very unique individuals, but at the end of the day, we want the same thing. We all strive to feel safe, to be at peace, to be happy, and to feel love. And for some people, it can be, I want to feel loved by my partner. I want to feel loved by my kids, by my mother, by my father, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's love. So, love, this may sound cliche, but love really does conquer everything at the end of the day. And to me, it's always tying it back down to love, and it comes back down to the self love that you have for yourself.
That's great. So when you think about the highlights and the best parts about running your own business, what would you say that they are for you?
Honestly, I think the best thing is that, first of all, I get to do it my own way. So, when you start a business, you hire coaches, you hire mentors, you hire, the professionals, and they tell you, this is the strategy to do. This is what you need to do to help you succeed. And yes, all of that is important, but I also believe that it's so important to do it in your own way. To, yes, use the strategy, but figure it out in a way that feels good to you, that feels aligned with you. Because when you're able to do it on your own and you're able to figure out that groove of how it feels good for you and how it feels aligned, then that's when you actually start to enjoy the journey. So, um, what was the question again? Because I
Was
sometimes,
your biggest highlights and the best parts about running your own business?
yeah. So that
Ooh,
I think yeah, my daughter's here in the background. Um,
hello there in the background. I
So yeah,
love.
the best thing is that you get to do it on your own terms. Like you literally get to be your own boss. And I don't mean just, your own boss in your business. I mean also your own boss of your own life. Like you are the driver. You get to do it however you want. You get to spend as much time as you want in it. And when you do it because you love it, it's just that much more fun.
That's awesome. Okay, so I always ask this as a mom entrepreneur, it can be challenging to find time to fill your cup and just find balance in general. So, what would you say your biggest tips are for moms out there who are thinking about chasing their dreams, or are in the thick of their own, starting their own business?
This is a really good question, Katie, because when I first started my business, I had all of these thoughts that I don't have time. I don't have time to be creating content, to be posting videos, to be doing all of this stuff. And how am I going to do that? I can't even take care of my own self, right? So I had all of these thoughts, and I really had to tell myself if you really want it, you will make time for it. Where there is a will, there is a way. So if you really want it, then you just go for it. And so for me, some of the things that I do, when I first started, my daughter was 2. So I would just wake up earlier than my daughter or go to sleep a little bit later to get some me time in first and then be able to work on my business, dedicate some time to it. Now that she just turned 4 in September, things are a little bit easier. She's more independent. She does more things on her own. So I'm able to tell her, you know what? Mommy is going to do this right now. So you go and do this. And when mommy is done, we will come together. We will play. We will do all these things together. But I think the most important thing, and it's also one of the most beautiful things about motherhood, is that you get to talk to your children, communicate with them in a beautiful way, because a lot of the time, as parents, we think, oh, they're kids, they don't understand that. But we often forget how resilient they really are and how smart they are. So if you just take that little bit of time to talk to them and say, I understand that, you want mommy to play right now. I understand that you're having big feelings right now, but mommy has things to do right now. So give me a minute. And once I get the time for it, I will come back. I'll give you all my time. We'll do this and we'll do that. And I think that's the best thing you can do so that you can just dedicate that time to yourself. And also, not just, mommy needs to do this for her business. It's also mommy needs some alone time. I love writing. So my daughter already knows when I tell her mommy needs some alone time, that means I'm going to go sit on my bed and I'm going to journal for a little bit. And she gets to see that. She gets to also learn those boundaries that sometimes mommy wants to be alone. Sometimes she doesn't want to be touched. And that also helps her to learn her boundaries that sometimes she wants to be alone. She doesn't want to be touched.
That's right. They do have that space too, where they get in and they're like, no, I will play now, like myself, or I will,
Yeah.
I'm doing this and this is what I'm doing. The actually children I find are like they're very good at asserting like their needs, like what they want, and they just like they're great. But as long as we model also, um, you know, the a positive way of like doing things instead of like being frustrated and losing your temper and yelling like I have to do this for my business. No, it's like I mommy, like exactly like you said, mommy needs to go over here now. And then after I'm finished, I will come and give you all of my time and all of my attention. That's all they want is like all the attention and all of the time. Like, and once they can be reassured that they'll get access to that, I think they're happy to like do whatever, in the interim, right?
Yes. And at the end of the day, it's like I said, us as human beings, we just want to know that we're loved and that we're safe. And at the end of the day, as long as our children know that I'm not gonna not spend time with you because I don't love you. I'm not spending time with you right now because I also love me and I need to take care of me right now and do what makes me happy. So
That's
it's
right.
all about those boundaries.
That's right. For sure. And setting healthy ones. So, what is the best piece of business advice that you've ever gotten?
Definitely the best advice I have gotten is from my current mentor and coach to just do it your own way. If I tell you, do this strategy or go do this and it genuinely doesn't feel aligned, then let's figure out a way so that it does feel aligned. How can we do it? How can we pivot in a way that does feel right. So I don't care what business you're in. If you're doing it in the way that feels right for you and you're in the right energy, your success is inevitable. And that's
100%.
100%. That's all I can say about that. That's something that I just carry with me all the time.
Okay, and what's your best piece, sorry, of motherhood advice that you ever got?
For motherhood, it's to just stop worrying about what the media says, how so and so is doing it, and you do it your own way. Nobody,
That's
when you
right.
become a mom, nobody gives you this handbook that says, Katie, this is what you need to do to be a good mom. Nobody gives you that. Nobody ever gave that to our parents. Nobody gave that to our grandparents. They did it that way. Our parents did it that way. They, you know, they taught us the things with what they knew at the level of conscious that they were. And now you get to do it however you want at the level of conscious that you're at. And there's nobody better to do it other than you. There's nobody that can be a better mom to your children other than you. So just stop worrying about what social media says you should do, what you should not do, what so and so is doing down the street, how good of a mother she is and how come you can't do it. No, you just do it your own way, and that is the number one way that you can just embrace the heck out of motherhood. Motherhood is such a beautiful thing, a beautiful journey to be on, and the best way to enjoy it is to just stop worrying about everybody else and comparing yourself and to just do it your own way.
That's right. Tuning out the noise.
Yes.
So I also want to ask, so you bring your daughter home from the hospital. Within the coming days that followed, what was the biggest thing that shocked you about becoming a mom?
Yeah. I love this question, and this may sound funny or whatever to some people, but it didn't hit me that I had to have my daughter with me 24/7 until I came home with her. Because
Not the only one.
because before, when I was working as a nurse, even when I was pregnant, I was working in pediatrics. So I was doing private duty. So I was, working with kids all day. And, at the end of the day, I would come home and it's like, oh, now I get to be myself again. I'm not a nurse anymore right now. So I don't know. For some reason, I thought that that's how things were going to be with my daughter until I brought her home and I was like, holy crap, she's literally going to be with me all the time. So when my husband is out and I'm the only one here, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to be able to take a shower, to be able to feed myself, to clean the house, to do all of these things that I want for
How did you
myself.
take a shower? I want to hear this. How did you take a shower? Because I'll share with you how I took a shower.
I had to put my daughter in her little bouncy and I carried the whole little bouncy into the shower with me and I had her there. And if she was crying, it was like constantly peeking out through the curtain and telling her, I'm right here, I'm right here. And man, those days I learned to take like the quickest showers ever in like a minute or two and bam, I was out.
But and the other thing is like you get in the shower, you get out, and then the next thing you know, you're like covered in barf in 5 seconds.
Yes.
Or whatever, whatever stage you're at. Even when they're like 6 months and they're like doing the food is everywhere. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. That was like also my moment, like when I came home and I realized, oh my God, like there's no one to tell me what to do with this very small baby, or I have to keep this thing alive, all the time, 24/7, right?
And I
um
remember, so my sister, she had four kids before I had my daughter. And so every
uh-huh,
time, I would visit with her, it's like, oh, I miss the kids and everything. But then once they would start crying and I didn't know what to do, oh, let me call mom, come here, let me call mom so she can come and help you. This time I
right.
am mom. Like there's nobody to
No,
call.
nobody
I have to
call.
figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I noticed, that was a really big shocker to me, was that my hearing changed. Like I could hear everything. Like if there was a change in like a breath, like I was like awake, and that was a very, before I could like sleep through anything. Then I had this baby and it was like, wow, okay, I have superhuman hearing. So that was very different as well. Okay. I also want to ask, what would you say that you are most proud of as a mother and a business owner? Like you're proud, the thing that you are most proud of.
Definitely the thing I am most proud of is being able to heal my inner child because I've heard this from other, business owners also, especially, empowerment coaches like myself, that once you have a baby, it brings out so much trauma to surface that you had. And for me, I'm so dang proud of the fact that I actually took the time to pay attention to that trauma and work through it instead of just suppressing it and thinking it's part of being a mom and I have to just deal with it. And a lot of the time, I feel like this is also one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to start my business is because so many moms feel like, well, I'm a mom now, so I'm supposed to struggle. Life is supposed to be hard for me now, and this is just how it's supposed to be. And yes, everything changes once you become a mom. So many things change in your relationship with yourself. A lot of stuff change, but it doesn't mean that you have to hate life now and that life needs to be hard for you. It really can be beautiful. So for me, I'm just so damn proud of myself for working through that trauma, actually allowing it to come to surface and heal myself. And that makes me be a much better mom, a much better wife, and just a better person in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Because whatever you don't heal, it will inevitably become triggered and show up and all those things. So it's really good that you were able to like recognize that and like observe it and then like pause with it and manage it and then like just release it and let it go. That was like that's a super thing to be able to have done. Most people don't do that. They just don't. So before we go, I want to know if our listeners are looking to connect with you, where can they reach you on your social media platforms, your website? Go ahead and give your info.
So I have my website, which is estefania.info. And on there, I have all of the links to my social medias. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok. And then I also have a community for moms who are just wanting to really learn how to enjoy their motherhood journey, who really want to just take that next level in their relationship, and who really just want to come back home to who they want to be, to who they really are. So the link for that community is revitalizedlovecommunity.com. And it's a private community on Facebook. And on there, I actually also host weekly trainings where I go live. So it's every Thursdays. And yeah, I'd be
Awesome.
happy to have more moms in there and be able to support you and know that you're not alone. So the link to that one was revitalizedlovecommunity.com. And then my website is estefania.info.
Okay, cool. So for my YouTube, I will put it down in the bottom. Everyone, you will see it in the bottom area with the information. The link will be available to Stephanie's page, Estefania's page. And then, of course, she's just told you here if you're on the podcast. Also, thank you so much for sitting with me for this time. I really appreciate the gift of your time that you've given for our listeners. And thank you so much for just guiding women out there to, show up and be the best versions of themselves and find their way forward to the light, because it doesn't always have to be dark. So
Of course.
that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you again, Estefania, for sitting with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.